How you guys doing? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Awesome. Where are you guys coming from?
I'm from India.
Nice. What's the weather like there? It is boiling hot here.
Yeah, not at exactly. It's a North India. So North India is having a cold and Western it is having a mix.
Cool. Right. 3 more minutes and then we'll kick off.
So Louis, this is Aditya. So wanted to know is this just an introduction to the product management, or we will be having a more detailed session in this, or are we having any follow-up sessions after that?
Yeah, so if you follow the original link, and I can resend it after this talk, there'll be 6 presentations all up. And this is like the first for sort of feeling out the market and trying to understand where people are at. I think there's a bit of a range of people that are joining us. So there's a few business analysts, a few engineers, a few product managers, a few product owners, product associates. My goal is to cover as much as I possibly can. And it's not just going to be like textbook stuff, because I don't find that particularly useful, and I don't think people learn that way. So there will be Q&A at the end, and there'll be opportunities for breakout sessions in future talks. And as we work through the different sessions, we can fine tune it. People can ask questions. If there's a particular thing that you want covered, really happy to cover stuff in detail. If there's stuff that like goes outside of the PM job description, then I can cover that stuff as well. Because like there's a big part of product management that is like all the soft stuff, right? How do you talk to people? How do you engage people? How do you start conversations? How do you finish conversations? How to negotiate? How to get a job? How to get a job without any experience? And it's all of those sort of things that I think are the most valuable. So making sure all of that stuff's covered for the people that don't know it, but also people's experience is going to vary very wildly. So if you've never worked in an enterprise, we can talk about that. If you've never worked with client side or agency side, then we can talk about that. It really will just depend on what you're trying to achieve. And I think that's quite an important part of it, right? What's the goal? What's your goal out of this? Because yeah, like there's no point me just getting up here and talking the whole time. It's like to engage people and try and understand what you're trying to do as well, you know?
Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. All right. So why don't we give another 30 seconds just for the people that are still trying to sign in, and then we'll jump into it. A few more joining us. God, I love this global nature of Zoom and webinars these days. It's so awesome. Like most of our team is based sort of Australia and Philippines and New Zealand, but yeah, just I don't know. It's great to see everyone joining. Super duper awesome. Okay, I'll be recording these as well, so we'll share a follow-up sort of video with everyone, so you don't have to worry about like taking notes on if you forget stuff or you miss stuff. If you got a burning question as well, just shout out. I know I sort of said keep it to the end of the talk, but yeah, if you really want to ask a question, no harm, as long as I can hear. Awesome. All right. So welcome, first and foremost. Super excited that you're here. This is the first one we've done, and I'll do a bunch. It's one of those things, like I wasn't sure how to like go about doing a talk, and then I was just like, you know what, I'll just do it. We do talks and stuff at work quite a bit. We have like lunch and learns, which are really good for people because they give you heaps of insight into different sides of the business, and so I get sort of like that. So yeah, if you can stay on mute, just because it gets really hard to hear people when everyone is not on mute. We'll save Q&A to the end. Once again, burning desire question, you can shout out. Otherwise, enjoy. It's very informal. So yeah, here we go. So in terms of the agenda for this session, one of 6, we're talking about what is product management. And we're going to cover what is product management, what does PM do, like sort of a bit of a weird, vague job if you've never done it. And there's no like true curriculum. Like you can go and do a computer science degree, but you can't necessarily go and do like a PMD degree, product management degree. You can now, like they're starting to bring some stuff in, but it's sort of like the skill set is sort of strange, and the way the location that you sit sort of means that it's kind of hard to get like a pure degree in it. We're going to cover some agile and product management, sort of the relationship thereof, and some Q&A at the end. So who am I? What am I doing? I'm Lewis, right? I'm a product manager. I live in Sydney, Australia with wife and 3 kids. It's busy, don't ask. I work for a company called Lendy. Lendy's totally awesome. It is in finance. I never set out to be a finance product manager. That was not on the roadmap. I never set out to do that, but that's where I am. That's where I've sort of landed, and I love it. I didn't think I would love it, but what you'll start to see throughout all of these talks is that product management is like a super duper reusable skill set. And once you've got the core skill set and the core competencies, you can kind of go to any industry. It's really applicable across sort of big tech or finance or, you know, any business. Basically, you can just decide what you want to do and where you want to go with it. The reason Lendy is cool is because we are growing like super duper quickly. We've done huge amounts of customer acquisition over the 6 years that it's been alive. We've settled in the billions of dollars worth of loans, and we've got really good reviews. So a few of those different pieces come together for a few exciting reasons. When you have a good product and you get good reviews, you get referred customers, you build a bit of a brand in the marketplace, and that accelerates your trajectory. It also means you get really great access to really awesome customers, and you can start to do interviews with those customers and learn from them and understand the types of things that they're interested in. So what is product management? I won't go into the long and winding story of how I ended up in product management. I think that is better left for like another talk maybe, or probably just not worth boring you with the details. But I think it's interesting to see how different people arrive at product management. I've had quite a few calls from people that have signed up for this webinar, and just wanting to talk some stuff through. And there was like a molecular biologist, there was someone that was a designer, there was a developer, and they all had these really unique experiences and were looking to get into product management. And so it's nice to see all these different ways that you can get into it. So what is the PM's life? This is like one example, and it's very different now because COVID hit, and so things have changed. But this was the old world. This is sort of what we used to do. We used to get into rooms and laugh and drink beer and play games and write code and create user flows and hack together things and prototype things and drink heaps of coffee and beer. And we still do that. It's just changed a lot. We're a bit more isolated now, but it's amazing to sort of see how everyone still comes together with these amazing tools that we have. And it sort of has changed the industry a little bit, but it's also flattened the industry. And so your ability to get into that industry, I think, is really good at the moment. So, I mean, this is a bit of a jargony explanation of it, but essentially, you know, it's a function of an organization, and our goal, our job is to look after the product lifecycle, and that can mean a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. It can change between being a technical product manager, product owner, product associate, product marketing manager, and all of those have their own nuance and differences, but there's going to be some similarities throughout. So from the very sort of the first user story, the first piece of scope that's written and drafted, the first BAU ticket that's raised from a customer about a particular issue, all the way through the design, research design process, the development process, the delivery process, even positioning that new product or feature in the marketplace, trying to figure out how to price it, and then trying to figure out how to get it in front of someone is basically all part of product management. We do it by focusing on the customer, and you'll hear people talk about this a lot, and it is super duper important. I just would caveat the way we talk about it though. We just want to build good stuff or great stuff for our customers, right? And we want to build that stuff with great people. So we want great stuff with great people for our customers who are great because they're paying the money, right? And so to do that, we need to talk to those customers. So to really, like, the whole job is basically communication. Like, jump on a screen, do it in person, convey your hypothesis, your reason, your understanding of a problem, try to tease out difficulties that a customer might have run into when they're in a difficult situation, and then convert that into a product. And our goal here is to build the best possible product. Like, hands down, it's like the single most unifying goal for a product manager: build great product. And it's hard to do because there's so many moving parts. And when you do it well, you know about it. So we become like the advocates for our customer. What does that really mean? It's like you're the voice of the customer, right? So you go and talk to customers, and those customers don't just like, it doesn't just have to be B2C, right? It's not just someone sitting there in a Shopify shop trying to install a plugin. It could be like anything. It could be huge enterprise level internal stakeholder that needs a particular type of tool, and you have to go and talk to that person and figure out their problem, and then reverse engineer how the problem came about, and then try and forecast for a solution to that problem. And that's the coolest part about product management for me, and I think a lot of product managers, is you're always problem solving. Like, the whole thing is communicating and problem solving, and it's just how you deal with those two different things that solidify you as a product manager. So yeah, we're the voice. We advocate for the customer, and we also push back on an organization level and just say, hey, that's not right now, and we need to prioritize things differently or change how we do that, how we roll that out. Okay, so what do we actually do? Like, it's, I don't know how much people know about product management. There's like a squazillion books out there. There's a whole bunch of YouTube content, but a lot of it boils down to these like pretty simple, and when I say simple, it's simple if you've done them 100 to 400 times, but you might not know going in. But I think you'll see a lot of similarities from different industries or different jobs. So hopefully this will just sort of solidify some of that for you. We do everything. We really do. We kind of do a bit of everything. We're generalists, but we often have a specialty. So you might have heard people talk about like a P framework, where you have like an understanding of a whole swathe of different technologies, communication methods, engagement strategies, but you go deep on one. Yeah, I think product managers, by their very nature, do a bit of everything. But jokes aside, like, it's something like this, right? This is how they used to sort of frame it. You sort of sit in between these different functions. You sit in between UX and business and tech, and they all sort of feed into the PM, and the PM sort of tries to orchestrate all those things and deliver them. And that still happens, but I think like nowadays, given the growth of the PM role, where we sit within an organization, often different departments are very siloed. And so you end up with something a little bit more like this. And it's trying to show you that it's you need a very holistic view of a business. You need to really understand the ins and outs of all the different departments. You have to actively engage all of these different areas of the business. You're literally going to be talking to all these different people, and you might not talk to them on a daily basis, but you'll be engaging with them in some way, and you're going to be getting sign-off from them in some way, and you're going to be exposing them to the ideas, the vision, the mission, the different objectives, OKRs that you've got that you're trying to deliver to people. And that's basically it, right? Like, you might also be in a startup that doesn't have all these functions yet, but you're still going to be wearing the hat that engages with all these people. And as you grow and scale, you're going to be dealing with larger and larger components of these businesses, or these divisions within a business. And so, yeah, you're always growing these sort of broadening horizons of perspective, sort of ever increasing amount of info that gets sort of squished into your head. Our core job function, I think this is pretty accurate, right? Like, we help accelerate change, and ideally for the better. Like, up and to the right is the goal, but we accelerate change one way or another. We try and do it consistently, and we do it by trying to change the trajectory of a business, and that's basically by building products. And those products can range across a whole gamut of different things. But you know, we work on products, we try and build good products that are going to grow a business, and we try and do it intelligently so that any product that we spend time on building and developing and launching, releasing, marketing, we're trying to do the Pareto principle, right? 80-20 rule. We're trying to get the most bang for our buck and the most bang for our engineering resources and data resources time. We always try and make metric informed product decisions. So this is one of those lines where you get it in like a course or like, I don't know, General Assembly or something. And people are like, yeah, we should totally make metric informed decisions about our products. But when you come to like the actual reality of it, that piece alone, and we'll talk about this more next session, is a really, really big rabbit hole, right? In a good way, because once you start down this path, like you're never going to run out of data. There's never going to be a company that has less data from today. So if you can sort of start to grasp the principles, the frameworks for dealing with data and how to make decisions with that data, and how to, even better, if you can be this type of person, raw insight from data that you have available, then you're going to go good places. So I was talking at the start of this how I never set out to be in finance, and it's true, I didn't. I just sort of gradually got exposed to it more and more. I was sort of real estate and finance, and then really sort of doubled down on the finance side. You don't always start as a specialist or an expert in the domain that you're in. In fact, most of the time you don't, unless you've been in the same industry for God knows how long. But your goal is to become a domain expert, right? You have to become a trusted advisor, and you have to do it quickly, because you have to pick up all this random information from all these random services and distill it down into strategy really, really quickly. And so that's what keeps it exciting for me, because you get into the weeds also on some pretty complicated stuff. You know, finance is literally acronymville. Like the whole thing, product management is acronymville, but you know, add finance on top, and it really starts to be an alien language when you enter an organization and try and understand, number one, the tech stack. That's like a tiny part of it. The culture is another part, but then the subject matter that you're actually trying to deliver against, that's a whole beast in itself. We're proactive by our very nature, right? Hence me talking to you. We get excited. We drink a lot of coffee. Well, I drink a lot of coffee. We don't all drink a lot of coffee. Maybe we drink tea, but we're excitable. We do a lot of user research. We talk to people. We talk to people at the coffee shop. We ask them how they use things. I watch people on trains, when I used to go on trains, interacting with apps and looking how they would use the app, and wondering why, if you're left-handed, Twitter is a nightmare, or why you can't do a simple back on Facebook or something to that effect. And it's one of those things when you start to look, it never really goes away. You constantly find yourself looking for these anomalies in products. We understand the value of user research. There's literally no point unless you're speaking to the person that's going to be using the product at the end of the day. And then when you launch the product, you need to watch them using the product. You need to record them using the product. You need to do questionnaires about how they've used the product, satisfaction surveys, NPS, all that sort of stuff. We obviously have to be super diligent, and we use a range of different methods. You know, it could be pen and paper, it could be an interview, it could be a video call, it could be using something like Full Story or Hotjar to watch how someone interacts with certain parts of the website. It might be some guerrilla tests where you go out and find randoms on the street and be like, hey, interact with this. What do you think of this particular piece of software? How do you find this app? And then we take all that and bundle it up and try and come up with some cohesion and something that people can use. Obviously, we need to be very rational, right? Because this is not like necessarily stuff that's in the far-flung future. It needs to be now. We're always in the right now, and then the 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years sort of mindset. And we'll cover a bit more of that next session. And we need to be super duper logical and use a range of different tools to be able to have that sort of mindset on tackling different problems. We know though that it doesn't matter how reasoned and logical these different hypotheses are, that we can end up in situations where users just go a bit crazy. And we have tools that show us that sort of stuff over and over again. Rage clicks, dead clicks, people just doing crazy stuff that you would never think someone would do with their own data, just deleting stuff thinking it would fix problems. And this is like, and often in product management as well, unless it's like a bare bones startup and you've built everything yourself, you're often going to be inheriting things. You're going to be inheriting tech. You're going to be inheriting teams. You're going to be inheriting user experience, design issues and flaws. And so, yeah, you've got your work cut out for you. This is like, this is personal sort of stuff, and it might not apply to everyone, but as a rule, we tend to like be really into mental models and ways of thinking, personality tests. We like psychology and trying to understand people. We read a lot. We're also super duper keen on new experiences, and that doesn't have to be like a new tech experience. It could be like going to a new coffee shop or like traveling to a strange destination. Not anymore, but you know, those are the sorts of things that we're sort of naturally drawn to, and it's sort of one of those consistent things that you see across the board with all PMs, and that's why they end up at the center of that, that mass of business. Obviously, we spend lots of time talking. I'm a talker. My favorite subject at school was drama. Don't know if anyone else liked drama, because you get to talk and like, wasn't debating, could have been debating, but yeah, it was drama. I like to talk to customers, and I love to listen to what they come back with. So I think it's, you have to have equal parts, right? Like you can't just talk and take the whole floor. The other side of the coin for a PM, probably like more important, is how well you can listen, right? How well can you listen and understand someone's needs? And we do all of this to try and develop hypotheses, and like we listen, and we listen to stuff that they're saying, but we also we listen to stuff that isn't said. So for example, today I had a design sign-off meeting, head of design and one of the designers on the project and a member from marketing, and it was super close to getting signed off. And this is the comment from marketing, which you have to try and decipher, is, can we make it a bit jazzier? Right? And so that's what you have to take and then go, what they mean by that is, can we have a range of CTAs that can be deployed to the CMS so that marketing can use one of them in a dynamic way with personalization across all the future landing pages? And so design's sort of sitting there going, oh yeah, well, yeah, we can jazz it up, but yeah, you have to sort of read between the lines and figure out what they're actually asking for and what they're trying to get, right? And that's a super crucial ingredient. And so it's really good to practice talking in the mirror. Hello, how are you? My name is Lewis. But it's also super important to listen to people. And that's why I advocate starting conversations with people you don't necessarily know, because you ask the leading question and then you listen to their response and you try and like decipher it and understand what they're after. And we do this, right, because I think sort of junior product managers and maybe BAs, you can get caught in the weeds a little bit. You can get caught just looking at the now. And to be like great at product, what you really have to do is go a level above that. And I'm not saying I'm great at product, like we're all still learning here. But what you've got to try and do is go above that and try and like forecast where the industry is going. I've seen a few things around online lately, and it's like, sign up to this crazy trends.com or like exploding topics or something, and we'll tell you like what's new. But like if it's only landing on those types of services now, then it's probably too late. Like that's when the consumer finds out that it's new. A better way would be like to go and reverse engineer someone's job board and figure out what they're hiring for and try and figure out how they're innovating for a particular product. And that, like, I did that the other day with Canva, right? They're trying to hire a product manager for CRM, email marketing, growth platform. Doesn't exist yet. It's something they're going to build in the future. So you have to kind of like not get caught up too much in the day-to-day. That has to run well, obviously, but you also have to forecast for what's happening in the future. Ultimately, like, your job is to inspire, and it's like, it's hard to do, but you know, you have to be the charismatic front person of the business, of the team, and it's your job to come up with, or collect all these crazy ideas from customers, internal stakeholders, partners, customers out there on the street, and try and like pull it all together. And then I call it planting the seed. My mum used to do it with my dad. You give people a flavor for the idea that's going to come, and then you get them to rally around it and get excited about it, and then they get buy-in, and then they want to see it succeed as well. Once again, that sort of psychology thing. So you have to understand people and their wants and needs, and you have to sort of leave some of the emotion at the door, but you need to be compassionate to where people are in their different stages of life as well. Yeah, you need passion, right? This is a Zoom, like a random Zoom chat, catch up, whatever. But yeah, like, I consider the lighting and the shirt I'm wearing and the amount of elements on the screen in the presentation. You know, I was this close for it being black and like white in the middle, because it would concentrate your attention better. And I think that would work better in person, but on a screen, this potentially works better, has more visual impact. So yeah, you got to be passionate. You got to care. You got to care all the way through as well. Like, you can't just care when the idea comes. You have to care at the delivery of the idea and the marketing of the thing that you've delivered, and the iterative ongoing improvement of the thing that you've just delivered as well. We facilitate discussions. Often we call it counseling. We're basically business counselors. We listen to people's problems and we listen to their pains. We reassure them that everything's going to be okay, and we help them try and resolve the things they can and get past the things they can't, and then put everything else in the backlog. And yeah, so we sort of sit in between those people where we help those conversations happen. Obviously, design are awesome at helping those conversations happen as well. So yeah, design is really great in a specific way, and engineering is really great in a more specific way, potentially. And we just sort of bounce through all these different discussions, which can sound overwhelming, but once you get further down the Agile rabbit hole, it's pretty formulaic, and there's a very consistent pattern that we'll talk about in this talk for a little bit, and then we can talk about more in coming sessions. Yeah, people need to own what they're building, and they need to own it because so many reasons, but from an engineering perspective, so that they feel like they're not a feature factory, so that they don't hate tech debt, so that they don't create tech debt. From a design perspective, so that they build the best possible work that they can. Yeah, you don't want to be in a team with a bunch of super disengaged people because they think it's just a feature factory pumping out stuff. That's no fun for anyone, really. We validate ideas, and we always speak, or at least we should always speak with everyone. And so if you've got a bunch of ideas or a couple of ideas, you need to like go everywhere. Speak to your partner, speak to the people within your team, speak to the head of engineering, speak to the CTO, speak to the customers. And you need to like get into this rhythm of like jotting everything down, try and capture everything, collect everything, and try and distill some of that down, and then constantly be presenting that back to people and showing them like cocktail napkins of a mock-up of that particular thing, or a whimsical flow, or a glyphy flow of one of those particular types of things, and then asking questions constantly. We're a questioning bunch, and we're constantly at each other, right? I think Lendy has 6 PMs all up, and we ask questions of each other constantly, because we need to remember stuff that you're never going to remember it all. And so you need people to call you out, and you need to be okay with people calling you out, because that's just part and parcel of being a great PM. So some questions that you might hear is like, does this make sense to you guys? Do you understand it? How will this work when we deliver it? Like, what are the different moving parts? What are the dependencies? Are there cross-team dependencies, cross-department dependencies? How's this going to fit within the marketplace? Am I missing anything? Like, you also need to be, comfortable knowing that you don't know everything. Like, I'm the first to admit that I am not like the world's best event schema, like compilation report person. Like, why would I pretend that I'm good at that? I would prefer to get up and like pitch something in or get people passionately excited about some new feature. But one of my offsiders is like amazing at defining schemas and understanding tracking events and trying to tie them together. So having a bit of humility and understanding that you don't, that key thing again, right? You can have a specialty, but like, and you need to know you need to know how to use a Chrome extension to determine which segment event is fired on what button and what that button's called so that you can track it into a report. But in terms of the definition of a schema, better left to the DNA data team, right? We're pretty detail oriented, right? This one's like a double-edged sword because you can be like OCD or ADD. Either way, you're going to be at some level, you're going to be super detail obsessed, and that might be grammatically, that might be in your calendar, like you are super specific about how you plan stuff out. It might be with how you regularly engage team members, and you will be obsessed with how they reply to you, and you'll want to know like what they're thinking, what they're feeling. At some point, in some way, you're going to be detail obsessed and detail focused. You got to get to the MVP, but it can't be like a crap MVP. It has to work. I should have put in the picture of the roller skate, skateboard, scooter, bike, car. You need to make it work, right? And you can't, like, gone are the days when you could make something that barely like was held together with an avocado skin, an ice pick, and an ice cube. You know, like now it really has to work, and you kind of need, the new table stakes is like consumer level tech, right? You have to make stuff regardless of who it's for at a pretty good level. And you need to like, this is end-to-end thinking, right? So here's the first idea, ding, and here's the delivery of the product with the marketing, and that marketing needs to tie back to the delivery of that product. And then after that marketing, you need to iterate on the marketing and the product from there so that it continues to be good and continues to get better. Everything is the product, basically. So the way you talk to the customers, the way you pitch in the first idea, the way you do the first wireframe, the first design, the way you G people up for the meeting before the presentation of the first design to get buy-in, all of that is your job as a product manager, and all of that is the product. So it's not just like, oh, we built a website or we built this singular landing page. It's all the product. And so you have to decouple yourself from potentially old ways of thinking or older styles of product management or project management, and go, right, this is the product. It starts here with the first crazy idea that CEO has, and then this is the delivery of a slightly different idea, which we've sort of compelled them to go for instead, and then the ongoing development and marketing of that particular thing. So how does this work with Agile and product management? I'm biased, and maybe not in a great way, but like everything is kind of Agile these days. And if it's not Agile, it's Agile waterfall, which is the most ridiculous sentence in the entire world, but you're going to come across it. So we bring the elements together, and your immediate crack team of go-tos is going to be Scrum Master and a tech lead. You might also have a data scientist and a designer. And then there's going to be other people around that function. But the whole premise is that, right, like we're building through iterations. We start with something small, achievable, attainable, the SMART framework, and then we continue, right? We build, we iterate, we move forward, we see what was terrible, what sucked, what was amazing, what people loved, and we take all of that and we move it forward and try and double down on the stuff that was good. If it lets me progress. It's just having a more flexible approach to both life and business. I think naturally being a product manager, like you're super detail obsessed and anal about specific things, but you also have to, the word you'll hear about 1,000 times is pragmatic, right? You have to be pragmatic about like the decisions that are made, and you have to accept them. You have to fight for them, but then you have to accept them when the decision's been made, and then roll with it, right? And the whole idea is that you can have like a malleable scope and something that changes over time. This is where the different levels of business that you're in, so you could be in a startup or an agency, you could be in a small client-side team, or you could be in an enterprise level team. This is where that fluidity has different meanings, right? So if you're in an enterprise level role, you might find yourself in a situation where there's very specific OKRs. And so the flexibility, it's not minimized, but it's just different. So like when you're in a startup, you can just change and roll and move super duper quickly. And it's just different. It's not better or worse, it's just different. So you need to know going in that, hey, like if it's this super duper high OKR level with these complicated like timelines with a lot of cross-team dependency, we might end up in a situation where it's a little bit more like Agile waterfall, like you have to build this, but we're going to be a little bit flexible in what can be trimmed out of it. And like resources, and when we talk about resources, to give you like a really top level view, right? You might have a PM, and the PM is responsible for maybe like a product owner, a product manager, project manager rather, designer, data scientist, and then 5, 6, 13 engineers. And like that's always going to be a fluctuating amount in some way, because there's people that go on sick leave and there's people that go on holidays, people that leave to go to different jobs. And so it's about taking those resources, understanding what your current sprint velocity is, big word, we'll talk about it later. Taking that sprint velocity, trying to figure out what you can deliver this sprint, setting the goal for that sprint, and then moving forward. So when I say we spend less time defining the product beforehand, what we would do is like capture everything. So you could have hundreds of like top level user stories, but then we might trim out what is like immediately relevant to the MVP. And then we might tighten those up and then start to refine those. So start with a super wide net, narrow it down again. In a future session, we'll talk about like epic, story, task, subtask, log, spike, etc. They're just fairly standard ways of working if you don't already know about them. We always need to stay open to changes. I recently jumped between teams because the previous PM was having a complication with one of the previous TLs. You just got to be agile. Like you got to understand that none of it's personal. You have to move quickly. You have to accept the change and do the best with what you've got, right? And that's like the mindset of a PM. It's just to be okay with all the change and revel in it, because that's how it's going to be. We work in iterations. That might be a dot point release. It might be like you might get one particular thing. You get one button. There you go. That's your button. You iterate on that for the entire year, especially if you work at Atlassian. Or you might work in different iterative releases of those particular, I don't know, I've just built a document viewer that let you do crazy stuff with documents. We obviously create the specs and the product requirements. This is part of that communication piece. So it's one thing to be able to get up there and like pitch it in. It's another thing to be able to create a presentation for that. Where the real expertise is forged, I guess you would say, is in the documents that you create. So if anyone thinks that product management isn't about creating documents, they call them artifacts. In the business world, it is. And to be great at it, you have to create really concise documents that have a lot of detail. And you often have like a BA, and for those that don't know what a BA is, like a business analyst that will support you in those types of exercises, especially if there's data integration or transformation happening at the same time. But yeah, you have to create documents. Fun, you'll love it. We iteratively write these documents so they have they change as well, right? Like, because when the business goes, oh no, we don't want to do that, we want to pivot towards this, you need to change it. You'd be like, cool, go back in, I can salvage half of that, and then I need to work the rest of it out in a slightly different way, and we're going to head in this direction. Off we go. And we need to make sure that, you'll hear this term a lot. Are you blocking anyone? Is anything blocking you? You want to make sure that you are the grease and glue between the different teams, right? And when I say grease, you want to make things move quickly, either off your team's desk and onto someone else's in a positive way. Like, hey, we've done our stuff, you can go now. And you don't want to be blocking anyone as a process of that. And when I say glue, you need to pull these different teams, these different elements together and bring them together and like let them have safe spaces to communicate about the different complications that there might be in these types of products. We guide the dev team through cycles, and dev, if you're in engineer on the call, smartest people I know are engineers. I would love to be one. I just don't think I can quite get there. Like, a dabble in Python, dabble in Ruby, understand some JavaScript. But I think one thing for PMs, this is going to be important for everyone, regardless of whether you want to be a PM or not, is really understanding where your naturally God-given talents lie and focusing and doubling down on those. I think it's like, I love tech. I'm obsessed with it. That's how I got into this. That's why I love photography. That's why I love design. That's what's driven me into product management. And so, yeah, I got off track there, but engineers, super duper important. They're also super duper smart, and there's some really great reading that you should do about writing great specification documents for engineers, because when you understand that a computer lacks empathy and will just give you a binary response, it'll change the way you try and describe things. The word that should be banned from a product manager's lexicon is like maybe, or it might, because if you say that in engineering land, it doesn't compute, right? Like, oh, it might do that, or it could do this, and they're not going to want that. Like, they might come back with some good responses, but it will need to do a specific set of things. And so collaborating with tech leads and engineers on getting to that, like, this is what it should do. You get the Moscow method. This is what it should do. Can we get there? What solution will allow us to get there? We use all these crazy frameworks, which is just acronyms, which you can Google, and they'll give you way more detailed responses than I can give you or would want to give you. But OKRs are pretty consistent, like quarterly deliverables. And we use various different frameworks to work out what to build and how to build it, how to engage teams, how to stay focused and prioritize. It's your job to maintain the vision, right? So you might not know, and this is what the next session is about, but it's like mission, company mission, or founder mission, vision, strategy to execute against that vision, goals, objectives, and all the way down to like epic story tasks. You're like the advocate for the customer, and you're the champion of the exec that has passed this particular idea or product to you. So it's your job to maintain that vision and try and accelerate towards it. And we always take the customer feedback and fold it back into the pie, right? So you might come up with some crazy ideas, and you need to be open to the fact that you're going to have to continually fold in those different ideas, good, bad, and ugly, and it's your job to sift through them, obviously, but never leave the customer out of it. Doesn't matter if it's an internal customer or an external customer. You're building these products for other people at the end of the day. And I think it's really one of those things you can get stuck in, is this mindset of, you know, I just want to build this thing that I've sort of set out to build, but you always need to revert back to what's the core goal, what's the metric that we're trying to hit, or what's the feature we're trying to deliver, but also what does the customer really want? Cool, that's it for this session. After this, we can do Q&A. Next session, we're going to cover mission, vision, and goals. I think Q&A is going to be pretty hectic, so you can either type them and I'll try and answer them, so type away. And if you're comfortable talking, introduce yourself. We'd love to hear where you're from, what you're doing, how you ended up here. I will literally give you any information that is in my head, bar like business confidential things. If you don't have a job in product management, you want to get one, I'll help you figure that out. If you just want to know the insides of how a PM's brain works and how to apply it from an engineering perspective, or a BA perspective, or a design perspective, or a product associate perspective, CEO perspective, just ask. This is a breakdown of what else we have going. So we're going to do 5 more sessions, including today. I've got some one-on-one sessions available. So if you're trying to become a PM and you want to like practice for some interviews, or you want to get some help like with a resume, I can help with that. And then I haven't built it yet. Don't even know if anyone would want it, but maybe a course to help really nail down all of the fundamentals of product management. But yeah, that's it, folks. I would love some questions if you've got them. Feel free to ask. I'm all yours. I'm going to start calling people out. No one has a question. Wonderful.
So when is the next meeting?
So the way I set it up, right, is the 1st of each month, but I'm wondering if that's too long away.
I think it is a little bit, at least to me. I would like to, go through it, not in 6 months, if that's possible. Yeah,
for sure. All right, well, we can look at that. We can figure out about making it quicker and doing them a little bit closer together. If you can send me an email as well. What I'll do is I'll invite people, how does everyone feel about being in like a community group where you can ask questions as well? I didn't know whether there'd be any interest in something like that, where you could just sort of ask questions, type out questions, and then view other people's responses. I think like we've all been in so many Facebook groups, but if you think it's worthwhile, we can look at that as well.
Well, I have to say that I like the idea of, sorry, can I speak?
Yeah.
So I think, I like the idea of another Facebook group, because usually it's like, there are plenty of people, like thousands sometimes, and it's really hard to build a real community. So if you create one, a smaller community, I will definitely join.
Yeah, I would potentially, I wouldn't do it on Facebook, because I just find you end up with heaps of spam. What I would do is something that maybe is a bit more permanent, where you have access to like product management templates, previous webinars that you can go back in and rewatch, questions that could be, easily accessible, because there's going to be a lot of similar questions, but if we answer them well once, then everyone's got the answer and you can take it and run with it, and then you can revisit it if you need it.
Probably something like a Slack channel might help us better.
Yeah, something like that. Something that's a little bit tighter and close knit. Yeah, and I also really want to know what people's goals are, because I think that's important. It's all well and good for me to get up and talk about stuff. I think the hard part, if you're not already in the mix of being, say, a product manager or something like that, if you don't even know what questions to ask sometimes. Lewis, how do I get a job? Lewis, how do I negotiate for a raise with this particular product associate role? What do I need to have on my resume? What do I do if I don't have any experience? my CPO is difficult and I want to figure out some different strategies on how to engage them. The CEO was short and not in stature, but short with me, and gave me this really vague task to do. Yeah, sure. Agni?
How about placing the sessions once a week, if that sounds okay for you?
Yeah, totally.
Can you
I
hear me
think-
now?
Yeah, I can hear.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Agni. I'm from Greece, actually. I'm head of
Wow,
product
awesome.
product operations in a ride-hailing. Yeah. First of all, congratulations for the presentation. I really enjoyed it. One of the best I've seen actually about product management. And I would like just to comment two things. I don't want to ask something specifically, but I would like to express what I wanted most probably in, I don't know, in maybe in one of the upcoming sessions to discuss about, I don't know, about maybe how the product managers can incorporate data in order to take informed product decisions, or research, user research techniques, and all these kind of things. Actually, like I'd love actually to listen from you different kind of ideas and best practices about this. And the second one is about the product ops per se, because currently I'm head of product operations, as I told you, in a ride-hailing company. I used to be product owner for years in the company, but now I took over this department, and you know that this is a new, total different new discipline in product management landscape, and it will be really interesting to discuss about this at some point, but I don't know if it's under your scope. I'm just recommending those two.
Yeah, totally. So the first one, just on the data side of things, product tracking is like the coolest thing in the whole world, because when you go through the process of actually like tracking a product end to end, and you understand how it should be tracked, and you realize that Google Analytics sucks, and you actually want to get like super granular breakdowns of how to track interactions of users and how to use the interactions to drive the product roadmap moving forward. It's super duper powerful, right? You still use Google Analytics and Tag Manager. You pipe all the events through Segment. The data lands in a type of tool, Mixpanel, Heap, or Amplitude. We use Amplitude, but it's like 100 grand a year to use it. More if you have like Salesforce connections and stuff. I think there's one out at the moment that's free called like PostHog, which does something similar. But Mixpanel just increased their free subscription for like 100,000 events. So if you took that and then you started compiling reports from that, that'd be super duper powerful to get you started, right? And then you can also pipe all of those into something like Intercom. So then you would have a full customer view, and you can also tie it into full story. So you have like full story and Mixpanel, going through Segment. So 3 like pretty easy subscriptions to sign up for. You'd have like a pretty amazing picture of a customer. Then you could take that and display it in something like Tableau or Power BI or Google Data Studio. And then you could start to create reports. If you want to get fancy, you could look at like some Python tech and have some Jupyter notebooks set up with some pandas running. And then you could run some like extrapolations and correlations with different things. And the Pearson coefficient, if Harry is on the call, he might not be. And it'll show you like the point of diminishing returns for a particular feature. Harry, wonderful. Harry's going to come on and do some product marketing presentation for us in a future episode. So pumped for that. And then on the other part, you were talking about product requirement documents and having like a really structured way to do that, and how you compile them. Was that the second question?
Actually, the second one is about the product operations discipline that is rising now to the product landscape, and how the product operations, the people actually that are working about the function, how interact with Scrum Masters, with all this kind of fundamental role that exists on the Agile management. That's the.
Yeah, so it's like a company-wide way of thinking, and you have to instill it quite early. You have to focus on people and education and training around the people, and that's sort of what I intended this to be, right? Is provide the basis for understanding product management. I don't want to get into like any of the trademarked like different ways of doing agile and things like that, because you could literally read 2 books and probably understand it pretty well. But there's some consistencies that happen across the board. There's a certain set of ceremonies that you do, right? You do the daily stand-up, you do the scrum of scrums, you do a product sync, you do town halls when you're presenting a design to stakeholders, you do design kickoffs, you do product kickoffs, you do scope reviews, and there's some consistencies that happen across those. And I think in future sessions, what we'll do is flesh those out more fully so that you can actually, maybe in a bit more of a visual way, have an understanding of how they join up across a week. And I might even be able to show you like some sample weeks of what you would expect a product owner, product manager, product associate to do, and then how the Scrum Master would jump in and out of those different daily activities, and then how the engineering lead or the tech lead might jump in and out of those different things. Does that sound good?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
leave it with me. I'll put some more detail around it so that we get
Yeah.
like exactly what we want to cover. Yeah.
Hey, Lewis. This
Hey.
is Piyush.
How you
Hey,
doing?
I'm doing good. I'm from India, and I currently work at Condé Nast. The leading company for publishing brands like Vogue and GQ, and I'm with their global data strategy team.
Cool.
So I work as a manager for product operations, and it's a Condé Nast is like the first company which started product operations team on a global level. And I just wanted see, my main goal right now is to switch as a product manager in SaaS-based company. For that, I've been gathering some of the insights and what sort of things I should be focusing on. And I've been associated with my last company for 2 years or 1.5 years now. So I built 2 of the reporting products, and one is like global communications portal, and another one is for the leadership team, just to have a better understanding of how resources are being utilized on each and every business unit levels. So it's a reporting tool that we created for our internal members.
Yep.
So I want to say a bit about product operations right here. Is it's a very new team right now, and the main focus is to let the technology and the product team, the consumer facing product team, is to let them work efficiently. And our major involvements here, right, being into product operations, are managing the whole communication within the team or with the customers on a very high level, managing the whole product roadmaps on a quarterly level, right, that we do for what are exactly good at the quarterly priorities based on the business units, because we have so many data products which are related to different business units, right? And we are also working on streamlining the agile practices among the different centers of the data teams. So these are some of the work that we have done, which includes product management plus operations and a bit of corporate strategy also, because we were the initial members of the product team here in Chennai. These are my experiences, but right now what I'm looking for and what sort of help I would be needing from you in future is, how do I collaborate all these different sort of experiences, right? And show it that, hey, I'm actually a PM ready person, but I'm having these many vast experiences in different streams also.
Yeah.
And I also want to understand how these different experiences are going to help me growing as a PM who can handle a whole feature or a product related to major business units or major customer areas in the SaaS-based companies. So
Yeah,
these
cool.
are the areas I'm actually looking forward to.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to give anyone homework, but maybe we can do something where we have some like example feature requests, and then we could like spec out how to build them and collaboratively share and show those different attempts at sort of trying to answer the problem with a PDS or a scope. At the operational side, I mean, I can give you the flavor of Agile and product management across an enterprise and a startup. If you want to get like super into the technical weeds of operational stuff, I'll probably flick past that to Harry. Harry can do a session on operations and managing teams. Yeah, watch this space. We'll put some stuff together for you. How do I pronounce it?
Sure.
Balganesh?
No, it's Piyush.
Piyush.
Yes.
Thanks, Piyush. And Balganesh is next, yeah?
Yeah, hi Luis. Thanks for your very practical and nice session.
No worries.
So, how to actually inculcate or nurture those qualities or traits or features in a personal front for all those product manager skills? It's fine if you wanted to do it in a professional way, but inherently, what kind of qualities or what kind of character or properties or else attributes we need to actually embrace or try to develop in our own nature?
Yeah.
Not be professional, but in our personal front as well.
Yeah. So the two that I like to give people examples of, which don't gel for everyone, is go and work in a restaurant or a bar, because it teaches you how to talk to people and it teaches you how to get bad feedback from people, and how you deal with that is super duper important. You could also start your own business. You would get a whole bunch of different feedback that way. What I do a lot of is a lot of meetups and a lot of podcasts and different Zoom sessions. And I try and put myself out there. I read a lot of books and I talk to a lot of people and I engage with a lot of people. So yeah, you got to work on your confidence, and you've got to work on your confidence by working on your presentation skills. So can I put myself together in a way where I can convey, number one, do I have the courage to ask the question, which you do and have done in this session, which is awesome, right? Shows the growth mindset and your willingness to like learn and improve so that you can get better. Number two is to start testing your skills, and you're going to be forged in the fire. Basically, you have to get out there and like put yourself out there and try and be involved in the land of product. And product doesn't have to be like the role of a product person in an organization. It could be someone that is like super passionate about building things on the side. You might want to build a no-code app. You might want to try and build a little website on the side. You might want to try and do a bit of freelancing. The core skill sets are going to make you great PM. Communication, and the communication can be spoken, written, or verbal. Sorry, that's the same thing twice. Just shows how important it is. But so like presenting something like this in person, using body, gesticulating, showing people, trying to convey ideas essentially. You might be better at being on a podcast, or you might be better at writing documents. Like if you are a total introvert, you can still be an amazing PM. You just be amazing at documentation. And if you suck at documentation, you can still be an amazing PM. You just be better at presenting and be more compelling to the business and fighting for users' needs. There's different ways of doing it. So maybe ping me an email after this and I'll give you some specifics as related to you. And once again, just to reiterate, like if anyone wants one-to-one mentoring or coaching, like I'm not a mentor, that's like a dirty word in my eyes, but if you want someone to just talk through some of the process and just share some of the experience, then yeah, we can set up that group and then have like an open forum where we can answer those questions from the people that have been engaged in this chat. And we can also do some dummy interviews if you've never gone and applied for a role. And we can do some assignments if you don't have a portfolio and want to get an idea of how to put yourself out there. Any other questions?
Terrific. Thanks, Luis. And where can I get your mail ID?
It's just lewis@blythe.com.au. But I'll email everyone after this session with the recording, contact details, and a link to the page.
Fantastic. Thanks, Luis.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Hi,
Hi, Louis.
Yeah, Nino.
yes. Hi, everybody. I'm from Georgia, Tbilisi, not state, but Georgia country.
Yeah, cool.
So my question, I've also sent this question to the private chat, but I will replay that. My question is, how do you cope with all of that skills and all of the duties? Because I'm working at the bank, Georgian bank, and I'm working on a business internet bank, and it's scaling up. We're up to 4 teams at the moment, and it's getting more and more complicated.
Yeah.
Because we still have all of these groups have their own product owner, and we have also the cluster product owner, but jobs that we do, we don't specify our own directions. So we are looking at the product in general, all of us together. And so the coordination, the meetings with all these legal, marketing, finance stakeholders. So this is getting more and more complicated, and more problems arise in terms of communication and the holistic view and vision and so on. So how do you cope with that? Do you have some personal skills that help you, some organizational skills, or how do you do the
so my first tip is go to the source, like go to the top, go as high up as you can go, and just like just try and engage with them as much as possible. And if you can't do that, know every single thing around what they're going to look at, so that if ever a question comes up, you kind of know the answer to it. And there's a capacity issue there. Like you can only know so much. From an organizational point of view, there's tools that you use that streamline the flow of information within an organization, right? Number 1 is Slack, right? Number 2 is Confluence. Everything needs to be documented. There's not going to be a meeting if there's no Confluence page to back it up, and no meeting minutes that happen as a result of that. Every meeting that happens should be documented, recorded. There should be actions and decisions made for each meeting, calling out the specific parties that need to deliver on something. You're likely going to be using something like Jira. You don't have to use these products as well. You can use Notion or Trello or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Pardon?
We use Jira and Confluence,
Yeah, perfect. So just make actions like a real world thing. Like if someone's got an action and they don't do it, then follow them up until it's done. Jira support desk, like everything needs to be ticketed. Shout out to Harry again. Everything must be a ticket. It must be tracked. It must be allocated. We use G Suite for business. You might use something else. That's like the only tools we really use, that and Bitbucket. Then there's a whole bunch of like dev-centric stuff. For design collaboration, you should only use Figma, because it's just going to streamline all the workflows from a design perspective. From a data perspective, you're kind of a bit hamstrung. You might have like a data store like Snowflake or Redis, and you're going to have like Segment, and the Segment's going to pipe the events to different destinations. In terms of like, how do you control that stuff? I think that's where the road mapping piece comes in. Like you need that long-term vision. I would literally go and find the CEO or COO or CPO, and I'd be like, what is the 6-year mission of this company? Where do you want it to go? Like, where is this thing going? And how can I help you get it there? And once you know that, then you can reverse engineer back from there. So you go, right, here's your 6-year goal. Here's your 6-month goal. Here's your 6-week goal. And I've broken it all up for you and put it in a lovely Gantt chart. And that Gantt chart, you can follow all the way through to delivery. The thing you're actually talking about that's just clicked in my head is portfolio management. So when you go a level above like individual team members delivery, you start to manage things at a portfolio level. And that's when you need to like actually understand CapEx and OpEx and the allocation from finance for the amount of people that you have working for you. And then you're starting to probably head a bit more into waterfall territory, which is cool because you can be agile in waterfall land. You know, most execs and gray old men that are on boards are going to want some level of like waterfall linear artifact, which will be like a Gantt chart. So that probably doesn't answer your question. You're talking about portfolio management. I would start by working on the stuff that you can control. And the things that you can control are communication between team members, delivery of items that you're in control of, education of people that surround you, people responding to the actions that they've been assigned. Yeah. Does that sort of somewhat answer your question? And if it doesn't, you can ask more questions and then we'll add it to a future talk.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Priya.
Yeah. Hi, Louis. I'm from India. I'm
Yep.
working as a quality assurance engineer. So
Yep.
like, I wanted to ask you like how to develop product sense.
I lost you. Did you say how to develop products?
Product sense. Product sense.
Product sense. You
Yeah.
just like look at products all the time. Like you just look at stuff. You go on Netflix and you be like, why is it like this? You go on you go on an Android phone and go on an iOS phone, and then you go on Pinterest, and then you read Hacker News, and then you visit Product Hunt, and then you sign up to literally every subscription that you come across. You go to, you know what the top 100 websites are in your country. You know what the top 50 websites are in other countries, and you just click around stuff, right? Like if you guys could see my browser history, you'd probably vomit all over the screen. Because I look at everything all the time, constantly, and I screenshot and I capture. Remember that point that we talked about during this discussion of capturing stuff? Every time you see something that's cool, capture it. Like use Notion, use Evernote, screenshot it, it doesn't matter, but capture it so you can remember those things, and not just like try and do your future self a favor. Don't just capture something and then forget it. Capture something and then say why you liked it, why you thought it was cool, how you could see it applied to something else. I used to use this term a lot when I was doing some salesy stuff. Cross-category examples or cross-category executions of a piece of creative. When you're building stuff, you don't look at the people that are in your industry. Like if you're in finance, you don't look at finance people. Go and look at like fashion companies. Go and look at like health tech. Go and look at really cool stuff out there in the marketplace and be like, oh, I love that execution that the digital watch has for Apple when you're doing the live view training. Wouldn't it be cool if we could do that same thing for internet banking and have like this real-time calculation of the amount of interest I've saved by paying something down a little bit earlier? And so your product sense comes from looking at a whole bunch of stuff and also talking to people and talking to engineers. And an engineer will be like, this is impossible to build, but I can build something close. And then you'll talk to a user and they'll be like, oh, this was just so easy to use. I loved how easy it was to use. And you're like, it's a form. And they're like, yeah, but it's how the form worked. And so then you go, all right, why was the form good? Well, it had good validation, had amazing transition state between flows. It auto-focused on where to type first. And then if I tabbed across, it went to the next section I should type in. So hard question, that one. How do you work on your product sense? Read books, capture stuff that excites and delights and interests you. Do yourself a favor and write down why it did give you those emotions. And then use cross-category examples to present stuff. Like you might think it's crazy if you walk in to present a concept to a boss or something and you get up and there's like a picture of a fashion banner or a slide from a fashion app. They'll love it. And they'll love it if you are committed to thinking it's really cool, because you're going to go in with passion, be like, look how amazing this hamburger navigation is. Look at it. Look, it's perfect. It opens with this beautiful transition. It's super easy to use, and they'll be like, wow, we never would have thought of that, to put a nice fashion hamburger menu, there's a interesting sentence, in a banking app. But now we've got it, now users love it, you know? Is that a weird enough answer for you? Hopefully it's a weird enough one for you.
No, it was actually a good answer.
Yeah. Have passion for your
Thanks.
products, and have passion for products that you see. Like, the best thing that could happen is you could get a train to work and you see someone using your app, and you're a fly on the wall, or use Full Story if you can afford it. I think there's a free version as well, and watch people interact with your app. I don't watch Netflix anymore. I watch Full Story or Hotjar, and I watch people interacting with our app. And I call them sick bag moments. You know, the little airplane bags they give you when you're feeling a bit sick on the airplane. You're like, oh God. Those are like the best moments. Those are the best moments because they show you things that you can fix, or they show you things that like you could make better. Because you're like, oh, this could be better than it is, and oh, I can't even watch from using it. That's the good stuff. You need to like target that, capture it, and figure out how to solve it.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Anyone else? I love that you're all hanging around. It's so cool. What I think we should do, if you're open to it, is we should call it a day and quit while we're ahead. I've really enjoyed this. It's been super exciting. Oh, we got another one. Chasm.
Yeah,
Shoot.
hi, can you hear me, guys?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I sent a message on chat. I thought you would answer there as well, but I had to speak, okay.
Sorry, there's
I'm
only
from
one of
Pakistan.
me, and there's 31 messages which I haven't looked at yet. So I'll respond to them all after this. But yeah, you can ask it here as well if you want.
Yeah, I'm from Pakistan. I'm a project manager and I have 10 years of experience.
Yep.
I need to switch a job now, and the problem I'm facing is that companies are moving towards agile methodologies frequently, and there is less space for project manager role in those positions, because agile does not have any specific project manager's role in its philosophy.
Yep.
So I was looking at different options that I can switch to. There is Scrum Master, and then there is Product Owner. The reason why I joined this webinar was to understand what's the product manager's role is, and if it is something that I can switch to in future. So this is basically the confusion, that if I need to move from waterfall to agile, and I have the experience of project management. I've also done PMP as well. So how I can switch to agile roles. I mean, there are a couple of product management and product owners role, and then there is Scrum Master. What is the logical progression from project manager to any other role in agile?
Yeah, I used to be a project manager, and I didn't hate it, but there were parts of it that I disliked. Scrum Masters rather don't necessarily do the project management side of it, if that makes sense. Like they're there for the ceremonies, they keep people on track, and they follow people up, and they take meeting minutes, and they guide teams and mold teams, and they'll lead sessions and retrospectives and kickoffs and things like that. And then product managers will sort of direct product owners. Product owners are like the day-to-day execution, like boom, 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 boom. Here's the user stories. Let's get through them. Here's the timeline for those things. Are they done yet? Let's test them. Here's the allocation of testing. Here's the testing framework. Product managers, I guess, are a bit more strategic. So I think there's no natural progression as such. It just comes down to who you are as an individual. Like, do you like communicating with customers? And do you like coming up with ideas and solutions? And then do you like driving teams to deliver that? Or do you like to be less sort of front facing and more in the sort of the management and delivery of the teams? And if you do, then maybe you are more like a technical Scrum Master or a product owner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of confusion. I mean, you understand my point. I mean, I'm trying to switch after a lot of time. You know, I've worked for 16 years in one company, and it has all been waterfall. And recently, I've started studying about Agile, and you know, I'm planning to do its certification as well. But I'm not clear about what role should I target when I'm applying. Or I mean, there is a lot of confusion between Scrum Master and I mean, the companies are not 100% agile. There are still, as you said, technical Scrum Master. I mean, people who have background of project management and they have moved to Scrum Masters. I mean, some have gone to product owner role, but I'm not totally clear. I mean, what kind of natural progression it should be.
Let's try and clarify it in some future sessions. Because like it's a big discussion, and it also depends on how much money you want as well, right? Like Scrum Masters are paid quite well. Product owners aren't paid that well. Product managers take on more responsibility and are paid better. Head of product, VP of product, CPO have obviously paid up again. In terms of long-term career progression, where do you go beyond being a Scrum Master? I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I mean, it sort of sounds like you could be either a Scrum Master with with waterfall experience, depending on the type of stuff you've been delivering, or a product owner that's quite technical and delivery focused.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
No problem. God, look at all these chats. Gonna have to reply to you guys. It records the chats apparently, and so I'll go through and answer anything that I haven't answered. Cool. Does anyone have anything else? It has been an absolute delight. What an awesome bunch of people you guys are. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will send the recording of the video, the invite, however it comes about, to some sort of a tightly sort of closed forum type thing that we can guard from spam. And then, yeah, let's just like get that big list of questions together. Maybe we can do a questionnaire or something, and we'll just figure out like what the answer is. Like, Kazim, I feel bad that it wasn't a more detailed answer. Maybe you just need to jump on a call and figure out like, which one is right for me? What am I currently paid? What do I want to be paid? Do I want future career growth? Where am I trying to go from? Project manager that's sort of in this weird limbo land of trying to transition to, I don't know yet, sort of something around here. And then how can I get there? What do I need? What steps do I need to take to get there? And then where can I go when I get there? Is there a clear progression up from there? Happy to help you figure it out. I don't think it'd be that difficult. And I think when we get a better understanding of the type of job you're currently doing, we can like put some process around it and practice some interviews for it, or, you know, review the resume, all that good stuff, you know?
Sure.
Wonderful. Thanks, gang. I wish we could do this all day. Otherwise, yeah, and I'll also look at changing the frequency because, look, it was the first one. It's a bit haphazard. We just sort of had a shot at it. And when I say we, I'm just talking about me, the proverbial we. But yeah, we are a we now, like us as a group. So awesome. Over and out. Thank you very much. Have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks, gang.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Luis.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you, Louis.
Anytime.